There ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much. And I'll tell you, I love this state. I love Georgia. I love Georgia. And I'm thrilled to be back in this incredible place with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. That's what you are. You are hardworking. You're great. We know how good you are. And we're bringing this country back fast. We're going to bring it back fast. I'd like to begin by asking you a very simple question. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? With your vote on Tuesday, I will end inflation. I will stop the invasion of criminals coming into our country. And I will bring back the American dream. We're going to bring back the American dream. We're just 2 days away from what will be the most important political event in the history of our country. I believe that. But you have to do one little thing. I don't want your money. I don't want anything. The only thing I want is get out and vote. Just get out, finish it. You know, we're on the 5-yard line, maybe even the 1-yard line. We're right there. We had a tremendous number of early votes, a record-setting number, records like nobody can believe. Thank you. But all I can say is on Tuesday, just go out and vote, and we're going to close this thing out, and it's going to be party time. It's going to be party time. And this is really all you need to know. Kamala broke it, and I'll fix it, and we'll do it very quickly. America will be bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than ever before. We start from a very bad place. We're a nation in decline. We're a nation in decline like we've never seen a decline. What they've done to our beautiful country is just so horrible. And we have so many senators, so many congressmen and women, and we have so many great people in the audience, and they're working with me. We're going to bring this back like never before. Nobody's going to believe it. We're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to bring it back so fast. This election is a choice between whether we will have 4 more years of gross incompetence and failure, or whether we will begin the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. This will be the golden age of America. What a beautiful, isn't that a beautiful term? Think of that, the golden age. This will be the golden age of America. Think of that, how beautiful that sounds, and it's true. Remember, we have more liquid gold under our feet than Saudi Arabia, than Russia, than anybody. And I told a great guy, RFK Jr., Bobby, I said, Bobby, you work on women's health, you work on health, you work on what we eat, you work on pesticides, you work on everything. The one thing you have to let me do, Bobby, I gotta work the liquid gold. You're not gonna touch that. We don't want too much advice. We don't want too much advice, Marco, on the liquid gold. We're going to pay off our debt. We're going to do things that you wouldn't believe, and we're going to give you, I gave you the biggest tax cut in the history of our country. You'll get still more. We're going to make our country so competitive. On Tuesday, you have to stand up and tell Kamala or Harris You know, when I say Harris, nobody knows who the hell I'm talking about. I said, Harris was out tonight. Who's Harris, sir? Nobody knows who she is. But on Tuesday, you have to stand up and tell Harris that you've had enough. You can't take it anymore. You're the worst vice president in the history of our country. It's the worst administration in the history of our country. Kamala, you're fired. Get out. Get out. You're fired. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This is a big place. This place is packed, and you have more people outside. I always ask this, would anybody like to give up their ticket to somebody outside? No? Would anybody like to hand over their gun to Kamala? Is there anybody, one person in this giant, tens of thousands of people, one person would like to hand out their gun? You'd be famous for the rest of your life. That's what she wants. She wants to confiscate your guns, you know that. With your vote, we are going to win Georgia. We are going to defeat Kamala, and we are going to make America great again. Over the past 4 years, Kamala has orchestrated the most egregious betrayal that any leader in American history has ever inflicted upon its people. What she has done is not acceptable. It's so bad. She has violated her oath, eradicated our sovereign border, and unleashed an army of gangs and criminal migrants. I mean, we have migrants pouring in here by the tens of thousands that are criminals from jails, from mental institutions, terrorists. They come from mental institutions, and they come from insane asylums, and they come from all around the world, from Venezuela to the Congo. Lots of people coming from the jails of the Congo, stealing countless American lives, and they do nothing about it. These are open borders. They come in totally unchecked and unvetted. Just days ago, right here in your state, an incredible 25-year-old mom, beautiful mom, named Mimi Ramirez, was kidnapped from a Walmart parking lot that was safe. She was horribly abused and murdered, violently murdered. A week later, her body was dumped on a road, was found by the police in condition that they said they've never seen anything like that before. The animal who murdered Mimi was an illegal alien who came to Georgia to maim and kill people. It made no difference who they were. Mimi leaves behind a 9-year-old daughter and her absolutely wonderful mother, Carmen. Yesterday, my friend, a very wonderful man and a very patriotic and philanthropic man, had the fortune to make a lot of money, and he gives a lot of his money away. He's just very amazing. In fact, he made contributions to Georgia with your hurricane problems, and he made tremendous contributions to North Carolina, Alabama. Think of all these states, Tennessee, South Carolina, Florida. What a horrible thing that was. But my friend's name is Steve Witkoff, and he reached out to Carmen when he heard about it. And I'd like to ask Steve, he doesn't know I'm going to do this, and he may not want to speak in front of 40,000 people because I don't know if he's ever done it before. But Steve is just this incredible guy, and if it's okay with you, Steve, I'd love to have you come up and say some wonderful things about Mimi and Carmen and that incredible family that's been decimated. Steve Witkoff.
Hello, everyone. The president is a lifelong friend of mine, and he is one of the best men I have ever known. I speak about him often, and I like to tell people about his humanity, his sensitivity, his empathy. I am a member of a very bad club. It's the club of parents who have buried their children. When my son Andrew died, there was one person who supported me unconditionally. That was President Trump and his wife Melania. We were having a conversation, and I told the president that my son Andrew leads me to others who have been in distress. Several days ago, that happened again. As a member of this audience, Josh McCoon, who you heard earlier, was a great guy, told me about a Georgia woman, Mimi, who had been murdered. I told the president the circumstances, and he was shaken. He asked me what we could do about it and told me to reach out to the family and do whatever we could. I flew to their home tonight to pick them up and bring them here, and they are here tonight. Distraught and sad, but I believe uplifted, and they are Trumpers and have voted for him in this election, all of them. Because they remain hopeful, as they told me earlier, that even after this terrible tragedy, this president, when he becomes president on Tuesday, can bring us out from the abyss. Let me tell you briefly about Mimi's family. They are hardworking, from Puerto Rico, living in Georgia, making a home for themselves. They never imagined their beautiful daughter would be killed by someone who did not belong in this country. On your behalf, Mr. President, we have raised their family money and we have given it to them tonight, and we will watch after them in the future. I can promise you that in your direction. Carmen, please come up to meet the next President of the United States.
Carmen.
Thank you. My name is Carmen Ramirez. I'm the mother of Minelli Zoe Rodriguez Ramirez. She was murdered the last Tuesday. I lose my daughter, but I don't lose my faith. And I know Donald Trump is the best choice for the USA. And not the best choice. He's the only one we need to save our country. I just want to let you know that everybody have to go and vote. Because just for talking and don't vote, we don't do nothing. Take your friends, take your children, 18 years old. Everybody have to vote. Because that's the only way we're gonna save us country. Okay? And I wanna let you know that Donald Trump is not a choice, it's just the number one. And Jesus let me come over here today to let you know that I have a 25 years daughter with a lot of life, and somebody stopped her life. And we have to stop with this and keep going with Donald Trump. I meet Donald Trump in person. He's the most wonderful person that I see, that I know right now. He help us, he be with us all the time as this happen. And he always be there for my family. That's why we always gotta be for him all the time. Thank you for everything. Thank you, and don't forget to go and vote. God bless America. Please make America great again. Love you.
Wow, what a job. What beautiful words. Can you imagine? I don't think it's her first language, and she spoke better than any person whose language is that particular language. That was incredible. Wow. And I can tell you, Carmen, that Mimi is looking down on you right now, and she is so proud. She's up there in the beautiful sky, well beyond the clouds, and she is so proud of you. What a job you did. Well, it's not easy either. Can you imagine through the grief to do something like that? And we are so sorry for your loss. It's unbelievable. We're going to get that stopped. We're going to stop it. This is happening every day. Soon it'll be every hour. It's just, we're going to stop it. We hold Mimi in our hearts forever. And we'll be your friend, Carmen. We'll be your friend and your family's friend. Thank you. Thank you very much. These terrible atrocities against our citizens are happening every single day in cities and towns all across America. I want you to hear directly from another mom, great mom also, wonderful woman who I met just a week ago. Border Patrol gave me this incredible endorsement. They said he's the greatest president in the history of our country. I said, does that include Lincoln, Washington? And yes, sir. But then I told the story, but then one of the guys got up and he's 37 years old. He said, he's the greatest president in my lifetime. I didn't like that. He was 37 years. I like the other one much better. Greatest ever. No, the Border Patrol is great. They're incredible people, and they gave us a full-throated endorsement. And they have every year, frankly. They always endorse me, and they're incredible patriots. Them and ICE and law enforcement and our sheriffs. Our sheriffs are great. Police all over the country. They are really respected by everybody, but they don't understand because they don't get treated properly. And we're going to treat them properly, and they're going to solve our crime problem very easily. It's what they want to do. They're dying, you know what? They're dying to do it. They watch these stores being robbed, guys walking out with refrigerators, 500 thugs going into a department store, cleaning it out, some of them with refrigerators on their back. And they want to do something, but they're told to stand down, don't even think about it. You'll lose your pension, you'll lose your house. You lose all your money, you lose your family. And we're going to free them up to stop the crime in our cities and stop the crime in our country. And they know, I have to say, you know, somebody said, well, how would you do this? Because obviously we have to deport these murderers and drug dealers and terrorists. We have terrorists coming into our country at levels we've never seen before. You know, in 19, if you look at the numbers issued by the Border Patrol, in 2019, a Trump year, and I don't even agree with these numbers, they said I had 0 terrorists. Oh, by the way, bring down that board, please. Just my favorite board in the whole world. My favorite board in the whole world. I assume it's up there. Is it up there, Mike? Yeah. So I love that chart. I love that graph. I sleep with it every night. I hold it tight. But it saved me, because if I didn't make that sharp turn to the right to look at it, I would not be with you tonight. So if you look at the arrow on the bottom, that was my last day in office. And after I left, all they had to do is leave it the way it was, remain in Mexico. You think it was easy to get Mexico to say, oh, sure. They said no. They laughed at me when I first proposed it. And within about 10 minutes, they were saying, we would love to do it, sir. I said, I'm going to put tariffs on every car and everything you send into the United States if you don't do it. And they not only that, they gave us thousands, tens of thousands of soldiers free of charge, everything free. I wanted it free. And tremendous crime is coming through. But that was in 2019. They said we allowed 0 terrorists. It had terrorists 0. And it was good, but I think it has to be a little bit. But the following year, it was 16 or 19 terrorists. Now it's thousands of terrorists. They're coming from the Middle East and all over the world. Some of the worst in the world. We know the names. We have no idea where they are. But our local law enforcement does, you know. People say, well, how are you going to ever find? Our local sheriffs and law enforcement people are incredible, and they're dying to do the job. And they know their middle names. They know their addresses, where they come from. They know everything, and they're going to help us. And we're going to have the largest deportation of criminals in history. But I want you to hear directly from another incredible mother whose world has been shattered just recently also because Kamala led savage, illegal alien murders into our country through the open border. She has an open border, unvetted, unchecked, an open border. Please.
Sunday night, I asked her to not stay up super late because of her coming to work with me in the morning first to do her summer school. She said, okay. I told her good night and I love you. I went to bed, not realizing that that was going to be the last time I saw her. We're best friends. Yeah.
We're going to shake it again.
I woke up to notice she wasn't in her bed. I'm in my heart trying not to lose my mind because I don't know where she is. I finally remembered her phone had a location on, and her phone was pinging just 2 minutes down the road, right behind the skate park. I start driving to the direction the phone was being pinged at, and I see a couple cop cars with lights on. I see yellow tape, and immediately my heart drops and sinks to the bottom of my stomach. My daughter's hands and ankles were both bound. She was strangled to death, left with no pants. And I know in my heart, she fought incredibly hard. She was not going down without a fight.
We begin with 2 men we're learning are charged with capital murder tonight, accused of killing a 12-year-old girl.
Police say these men strangled her before dumping her into that creek. Both men were in the country illegally.
Apprehended, then released by Border Patrol less than 3 weeks before Jocelyn's death. The men accused of killing Jocelyn Nungare are affiliated with the gang known for brutal violence.
Kamala Harris was in charge of immigration in our borders. If we had better border policies and not open borders and not these catch and release policies, I truly believe this all could have been prevented. Under her being vice president of this country, my daughter's life was ripped away from her. She had her entire life ahead of her.
Happy birthday, dear
daughter is 6 feet in the ground based off of policies that she allowed to keep. Kamala Harris did have one job, and she not only failed, not me, she failed my daughter, she failed Jocelyn. You know, she was only 12. President Trump reached out, gave me his sincerest condolences as not a former president, but just as a father, someone who cares. I believe Donald Trump needs to be back in office. I can at least know that my next child will be safe in this country.
But isn't that just terrible? And this is taking place thousands of times a year, different forms, different ages, different types of crime, but ultimately ending in all cases in death, needless death. The day I take the oath of office, the migrant invasion ends and the restoration of our country begins immediately. And when you vote on Tuesday, remember this: Kamala is importing illegal alien rapists and murderers, draconian monsters who are killing our children, our brothers, our sisters, our parents, our friends. They're willing to kill anyone, these people. They are true evil. When I win, I will not let these animals into our country any longer. I will not let them spill one more drop of precious American blood. And I just want to thank you, Carmen. And Jocelyn was so incredible. The mother is devastated. It's like devastated. She was devastated. You can never really be the same, can you? Just people say, oh, time. Sometimes with time, a lot of times with time, it only gets more difficult. The United States is now an occupied country. Think of that. We're an occupied country. This is thousands of people all over our towns and cities, countryside, having military-grade weapons, sometimes higher than military-grade. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Where the hell do those weapons come from, right? But it will soon be an occupied country no longer. November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America. I will rescue every city and town that has been invaded and conquered. Can you imagine? I'm saying our towns have been invaded and conquered, and that's what they are. Take a look at Aurora in Colorado. It's been invaded and conquered. And we have a radical left governor of Colorado who doesn't know what to do. I know what to do. And we will put the vicious and bloodthirsty criminals in jail. But first, we're going to see if it works out. We're going to kick them the hell out of our country because we don't want to take care of them. And to expedite removals of Tren de Aragua and other savage gangs like MS-13, equally violent. They like using knives to cut people up because knives are much more painful than a bullet. They did it in Long Island. You remember 2 young girls walking to school in the morning, beautiful 16-year-old girls, and they were grabbed by MS-13 and they were sliced into pieces and killed. And all I can say, it's really good that we have great law enforcement out there and that we were able to call ICE, because ICE took care of business. They took care of business. And Kamala wants to defund ICE. Think of that. She wants to, she said, she said, they're not nice people. They better not be nice people. They're nice people. They're going to have a lot of problems with living, but they are tough as hell, but they love our country equally as much. They love our country so much, they just want to be able to do their job. So ICE and Border Patrol and all of you, sheriffs and law enforcement officers, and yes, firemen and sanitation men and you are on the A-list, all of you. I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Can you imagine? That's when they ran it a little tougher. They weren't so politically correct in 1798. To target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil. And if they come back into our country, it's an automatic 10 years in jail with no possibility of parole. And I am hereby calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or a law enforcement officer. And I will immediately ban all sanctuary cities in the United States of America immediately. And as we secure our borders, we will also rescue our horrendous, you saw the numbers on Thursday, horrendous economy. Yes, it's that bad. I always said that if it's gonna happen, let it happen on their terms. The numbers were the worst that I've ever seen. 4 years of Kamala and Sleepy Joe have delivered nothing but economic hell for American workers. Her inflation disasters made life unaffordable and cost families over $30,000 a year in higher prices. That's inflation, that's what it's done. You know, inflation in a lot of quarters is called a country buster. It's a country buster. It busted Germany many, many years ago. Germany was busted with rampant inflation. It's a country breaker, country buster like almost nothing else. And yet, it's #1 rated on the polls, inflation and the economy. And what you just saw with beautiful, beautiful Jocelyn, Mimi, and Carmen, what you just saw is #2. No, I don't think so. I think #1 is stopping these people from destroying our country and stopping them right now. We'll handle inflation. We'll handle inflation. You know how we're going to handle it. We're going to drill. We're going to get energy costs so low. We're going to get you. We have more than any other country. More oil and gas. I call it liquid gold. That's what it is. That's why I say, Bobby, please enjoy yourself. Just leave the liquid gold to me, please. We're going to pay off debt. We're going to reduce your taxes still further. They got the biggest tax cut ever, biggest regulation cuts ever. We had a great administration. And I will say that I got you into no wars with countries that you've never heard of. And yet I defeated ISIS. I rebuilt our military, and I defeated ISIS in about 4 years less than these stupid generals like Milley and Kelly and Mattis. Sir, it'll take approximately 5 years to defeat ISIS. How about we did it in about 4 weeks? With the real generals. Just this week, we had the worst jobs report in modern history. So the reason I put it second on the list is I wanted you to meet these incredible mothers and these unbelievable families that are just decimated because it's #1. It will always be #1 to me because I'm good at this stuff. I'll handle inflation. You'll be making so much money. All of a sudden, it'll just be beautiful. Because if we get your energy costs and your interest rates and a couple of things down, it'll be even better than it was. You know, we had the greatest, strongest economy in the history of our country. We're going to do it again, but even better. And now I know Washington. Now I know, because I went to Washington very few times in my life. I didn't know anybody. Think of that. I became president of the United States, and I didn't know anybody in Washington. That's a problem. So I had to rely on rhinos and some others, and some very good people, too. And we had a lot of great people. Look, our trade deals have been unbelievable. Nobody can believe it even. And So many other things are right to try. One of the greatest things, right to try. We got so much done. All the regulation cuts. We approved more regulation cuts than any president in history times 5. That's why you had the great job. That's why you had the great job numbers. And it's really why we were the envy of the world. We were going at levels that nobody's ever seen. We got hit by the China virus, and we took care of it. We did a great job. You know, we turned it over with the stock market higher than it was previous to the virus coming in. I mean, it was sort of an amazing thing. Nobody had ever heard about this. Nobody knew anything about it. All we knew that all over the world, lots of people were dying, and we did a great job. Never got credit for that. Got credit for the great economy. Got credit for knocking out ISIS and having no wars. I'm the only president in 82 years I had no wars. Remember crooked Hillary Clinton? She said, look at him, he'll create wars. Look at him, look at his attitude. Look at him, he's going to create wars. I said, no, my attitude is going to keep us out of wars. And that's what happened because they respected us. They respected us. But just this week, we had the worst jobs report in modern history, with only 12,000 anemic jobs created, and much of that was government jobs. We had nothing. You know, usually we hear 200,000 jobs were created, 250, 300, 350, 190, 100, 12,000. And they thought they could hold this report till after the election. And somebody released it, a whistleblower or somebody released it. But they released something far more sinister, because if you go back a few weeks, you remember they created 818,000 fake jobs. They didn't exist, and they put them down as though they did. So that instead of having today's problem, which is 12,000, which is like terrible, it looked okay. Not great, but it looked okay. So they created 818,000 fake jobs, and it was revealed 2 weeks ago, and the fake news media hardly picked it up. What a shame. That's a lot of fake news. Look at that. That's a lot. Wow. That's a lot of fake news, Mr. Chairman. That's a lot, huh? I can't believe it. You know, they hate me, but ratings predominate. For the networks, ratings predominate over hate. But think of what they did. 818,000 fake. And then last week they had to revise the figures from the previous month, 112,000. So that's almost 1 million fake jobs. I call them fraudulent. Fake isn't strong enough. And they did that hoping that all of you people wouldn't have a chance to see before you pull the lever on Tuesday. But a whistleblower released the information on the 800,000 jobs plus. The whistleblower said, you know, there were not 800,000 and 18,000. You add them up, and then you add 100, think of it, 112,000 jobs. So you're close to 1 million jobs. And the whistleblower, I never loved the idea of whistleblowing, but in this case, I liked it very much. But they thought it would be very unfair to go through an election. Somebody was being fair. They thought it would be very unfair. Could you imagine if those numbers, we have the election, and let's say there's a bad result, and then 3 days later they say that almost 1 million jobs were not created. I mean, we would say they were fraudulent. They were fraudulent, by the way. If that were a Republican doing that, they'd probably be in jail by now. But you also had 30,000 private sector jobs that were killed in a single month, and nearly 100,000 manufacturing jobs. This just came out on Thursday, that were wiped out since the start of the year. And those manufacturing jobs, they're important to us as a country. 150,000 Americans joined the unemployment rolls in October, close to a record. And nearly 250,000 people dropped out of the labor force. Can you believe this? And these are the numbers. And I did say that if they've got to be released, let them release it before the election. These numbers are all public. They've been released. Meanwhile, a statistic that a lot of people are going to hate hearing, but that's the way it is. Meanwhile, 100% of the net jobs created in the last year have gone to migrants. The migrants have gotten every single job plus that was created. Illegal here. Many of them are illegals, and many of them are murderers, and many of them are terrorists. I mean, they're taking the job. And you know who they're taking the jobs from? The black population mostly. It'll start hitting the Hispanic population. But right now, and the other thing that you should demand, everybody in this room should demand it in front of the fake news right now. They should demand it because they put no pressure on these crooked politicians. You should demand that they give you the numbers of how many black people are going to lose their job. The African American population, they're getting fired at numbers that we have never seen before, and migrants that are here illegally are coming in and taking their job, and they have homes and mortgages, and they have things to pay, and they've worked there for 10 and 15 and 20 years, and they're losing their jobs. And frankly, the Hispanic are next. I hear that that's what's happening, but the Hispanics are next. And unions are going to be seriously affected too, very seriously. The unions know that this is a big problem. So think of what they've done. They've allowed people to come in by the millions, 21 million people. I think it's much more than that. And then you have the gotaways. You know what the gotaways are? That's the people that don't want to be looked at all. So they're worse than the people we're seeing. That's why they don't want to be looked at. These are depression-type numbers, 1929 depression-type numbers. And I never wanted to be, I always told people, I would have hated to be the president of the United States in 1929 when you had the Great Depression. Herbert Hoover, I would not want to be Herbert Hoover. What a time that was. People jumping off buildings. And that's where we're headed because we have leadership that's incompetent. We have low IQ people, and we need very, very, very high IQ people. Under my leadership, we are quickly going to turn this economic nightmare into an economic miracle. Wait till you see how fast we're going to get it going. We'll get the prices down. Don't forget, you could stop inflation, but the bacon is still at the all-time high, and the lettuce and the apples. There's a story that should never happen in this country. An old woman goes into the grocery store, and she takes 3 apples. That's what she lives on. And she brings it up to the counter, and then they tell her the price of the apples, and she says, I'm sorry. And she takes 1 apple and brings it back to the refrigeration area, puts it back in, and comes and pays for 2 apples. This should never be happening in our country. This should never be happening. We will make America wealthy again, and we will make America affordable again. Big problem. So we're 2 days away from the best jobs and the biggest paychecks and the brightest economic future the world has ever seen. Kamala talks about fixing the economy, but why doesn't she do it? She said the other night, yes, I'm going to fix the economy. Why the hell don't you do it? She's always saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. The best was today, though. She was going to fix something else. When I got into office in January, do it now. What are you waiting for? It's all a big con. She's not going to do anything. She's incapable of doing it. Kamala's plan will impose the largest tax hike in American history and raise taxes on the typical American family of 4 or 5 by more than $3,000 a year. Congratulations. You know, all my life, I've always found politics fascinating. I never knew I'd be a politician. I still like to try and get away with saying I'm not. But I guess after 9 years, I guess I am. It's all right. But you know, all my life, I've watched politicians run for office. And all my life, they've been talking about cutting taxes. We will cut taxes. We will cut taxes. And oftentimes it turned out, frankly, they weren't able to do it, or it wasn't true, but they turned out. But I've never seen a politician run and say, we're going to raise your taxes and have people vote for them. We are going to raise your taxes. You're paying far too much already. And we are going to cut your taxes substantially, and it's going to be helped by lowering interest and by oil and gas. And by the most beautiful word in history, tariff. We're going to tariff the hell out of countries that have been taking advantage of us and stealing our jobs, stealing our companies. My plan will be massively to cut taxes for workers. We're going to cut their taxes and small businesses, and we will have, quite simply, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security benefits for our great seniors. And to rapidly reduce inflation, I will end Kamala's war on American energy, and we will drill, baby drill, frack, frack, frack. We're gonna go to town. And I know those guys are, they don't call them wildcatters for nothing. They'll be drilling so fast. Just the concept of what's going to happen on Tuesday, we're way ahead. I'm not supposed to say that. My people say, please don't say that, sir. They'd like me to say that, yeah, we're a little bit behind, but if you get out, look, here's the story. You have to get it out. You have to vote Tuesday. It's all Tuesday. You got to show up in numbers that you've never seen before. And we don't need those kind, but you know what? We want to have so many votes that we can really do what we have to do to make our country great, to fix our country. We don't want to have and you know, it would be nice, it's obviously not necessary, but it would really be nice to have more votes than they do, because typically it's not great mathematics, because you take a place like Gavin Newsom in California. Did you see that his poll numbers have absolutely collapsed? Did you see that, Marjorie Taylor Greene? Did you see that? Gavin Newsom, one of the worst governors in history. But Gavin, his poll numbers are, what the hell's happening? What happened to his poll? But all of these people, they're just taxing you out. But the worst is, I was talking to Elon Musk. How great is Elon Musk? When I saw that rocket ship come in a week ago, I'm looking and I told the story twice. I'm looking at that rocket ship and I'm on the phone with a very important person, very, very important. Even all these senators, even Herschel Walker would be impressed with him. Not that, Herschel wouldn't be that impressed. Herschel is, by the way, you're the greatest, Herschel. What a good man. They didn't treat him fairly. They didn't treat him fairly. You know, Herschel was very fast, very big, very fast, but he would always run around. But if perchance you couldn't run around, he would run through people I've never seen. He would carry 4 coal miners' sons on his back for like 12 yards. They didn't know what, they're banging him, they couldn't touch him. Really, maybe one of the top 2 or 3 in the history of football. We were really great. Remember, they played here in your state, the ballad to Herschel Walker. They're playing the ballad to that guy, and all he wanted to do is play football. He's a good person with a great wife and family and everything, and we love that you're here, Herschel. And as good as that Georgia team is, if Herschel was playing on it, they'd be very happy. Then we could guarantee it, but he's a special guy. He's a good guy. Really a great guy, smart guy, too. So they would take all of the things that we're doing and they put them into a hopper, and what they do is destroy our country, and we're not going to let it. We're going to bring it back. We're going to create millions and millions of jobs. We're going to get those countries and to leave our companies alone. We're not going to do it. And if you're going to play games and if you're going to steal from us, our companies, and give us unemployment, and busted companies. We're not going to let it happen. And if it does happen, we're going to tariff you the hell out of business. We're not going to let it happen. It's not going to happen. And just one quick story. In Mexico, they're building the largest auto plant in the world. A friend of mine told me that he's a builder of auto plants. That's all he does. That's all he's good at. Frankly, he tells me if you said to build an apartment, he would be no good. But he can build a massive plant. He's the best. And he was telling me about a year ago that China is going to build a massive auto plant in Mexico, and they're going to sell the cars into the United States. And I think he said that the capacity would be literally, this would be bigger than what they have in Michigan, the state. This is a monster, but it'll put all our auto workers out of business, everyone out of business. And I didn't like that when I heard that. And I was up in Detroit at the Detroit Economic Club. By the way, isn't it nice that you have a president that doesn't have to use a teleprompter? I haven't looked at that damn teleprompter. Isn't it nice? Isn't that nice? But I said to him, John, let me ask you, I want to see a plant. I just want to see, why do you want it? I just want it because, I think I'm going to do well if I run again. So I want to see it. This was a year ago. He said, well, thank you, darling. He said, well, you'll have to come to Mexico because we're not doing the big ones here. We're doing plants, but not the big ones. I said, no, they should be doing the big ones here. He said, well, it's not happening anyway. So I said, I'm not going to Mexico. I don't want to go to Mexico, even though they did what I asked them to do. They always did. They did. They were fine. But Mexico's a real threat because of what's going on. A real threat, economic threat. And China's going into Mexico because this way they don't have to float it across the seas. It's not going to happen. So I said to him, what's happening with that plant? I was making a speech a week ago, and I see the guy sitting right there with the guy with the blue shirt. See that nice-looking guy right there, right about there? Yeah, you can stand up if you want. You look like a nice... Go ahead, stand up. Right there. Yeah, stand up. Right there. So I'm looking at the audience, and again, I'm in Detroit, and this has to do with cars. Very pertinent because cars are big manufacturing stuff, and you see all the jobs that they're losing now. I want to bring all of the car business back here. So he's sitting, I say, oh, that's John. That's the guy that told me about the plant. So I finish my speech, and I send out for John. He comes backstage. I say, John, how's that plant coming on, that big monster plant that China's building? Sir, they've decided they're not going to build it because they think you're going to be elected president, and if you're elected president, you're going to put tariffs on all these cars of 100%, and they're not going to be able to sell one car into the United States. And I said to the state of Michigan, you're so lucky. No wonder I'm leading Michigan by a lot. No, but there's a big thing. I mean, I said you're going to be paying tariffs like you wouldn't believe, and it's not going to be economic, and and they think I'm going to win. And they say if he wins, it's going to be impossible. Because I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. No other president took in 10 cents. Barack Hussein Obama took in nothing. He just talks. He talks all the time. Talk. And a terrible thing happened 2 days ago. I've always treated his beautiful wife, Michelle, I've always treated her with great respect. But she hit me hard over the last. What was that, front row Joes? Look at the front row Joes. They've been to like 300 rallies. And this, by the way, look at this thing. 25,000 people standing outside. Look at it, to the back window. You know it's full when you have the back window and people are hanging out the window. Be careful, too. But this isn't a rally. You know what this is? This is a request to tell everybody just to go, please, just go and vote on Tuesday. This is not a rally. It should be a rally, but we want you to go vote. So I believe in America first. It's going to be America first. And, you don't hear that often. But our country is going to be so successful. It's going to be so rich. Your taxes are coming down. Your jobs are going up. And we are going to indeed have an economic miracle. And it's not going to be that hard. And it's really something that others do to us, the smart ones. There are no dumb ones. You know, we're the dumb one. I have never seen a good trade deal made. I changed the deal with Japan. I changed the deal with South Korea. I changed a lot of deals. But we're at a disadvantage because we had long-term deals. But I didn't care about that. I said, we're changing them. I don't care. I didn't care because I don't know how the hell they got those deals. Those deals, they had to, there's two ways those deals, it's like the voting stuff. There's two ways those deals were made. Either the person that made them was corrupt or stupid, because these are you had the worst trade deals ever made by any country ever. Anyway, we started changing that all around, and we were doing unbelievable. We had the greatest economy in the history of the world. We were leapfrogging and lapping China. China was going crazy with me. Please don't put any more tariffs on. I saved the steel industry. If I didn't put, they were dumping steel. You remember that. If I didn't do that, you would have no steel. And by the way, I don't want U.S. Steel, the greatest company in the world 70 years ago, to be sold to Japan. I just don't want that to happen. Everything Kamala says is a lie. She has no vision, no ideas, and she has absolutely no solutions. But take a look at this for a second, because this is just terrible. Take a look.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I will speak about Donald Trump. Donald Trump, 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 Trump.
I can't stand it. I can't stand it, Marco. So, no, this was the other night. She made a speech. Every sentence was about me. Our great First Lady said, darling, are you okay? They asked her about the economy. Donald Trump. No, they've been there for 4 years, the whole thing. What they did to this country is record-setting, and especially at the border, because that inflation's going to come roaring down. You know, as soon as we open up the gas spigot, the oil and gas, you know, we had $1.84. You know, I used to say $1.87. I was corrected by the government manuals. So I said, I'll take it 3 cents. But we had $1.84 gasoline. Do you like that? How does that sound? Today you're at $3.75, but if anything happened with the election, you'd be at $7, $8, $9 a gallon. Kamala's campaign is running on nothing but hate and demonization, calling half of America garbage. You saw Joe. Do you think they were happy with Joe the other night? Good. His people are garbage. They're garbage. Oh, I said, oh, is he screwed now with them? He says, Sarah, that's lasted for about 5 days now. This is not good. And perhaps that's why we're leading by so much, but that's not really the reason. The reason is that first little question I put. We built a great, great economy, and their economy is terrible because of inflation, in all fairness, largely because of inflation, but if inflation's a real bad word. Meanwhile, Kamala says she would not do one thing differently from Joe Biden, which in itself is disqualifying. I wouldn't do one thing. How about the 325,000 children that are dead, missing, or slaves? She wouldn't do that different. Our country is almost at a 90% wrong track, the highest in the history of our country, and she says, oh, I would do nothing different. Take a look.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
I stood there on the tarmac watching you check your watch.
The chaotic and deadly U.S. evacuation from Afghanistan stunned Americans and the world and cost the lives of 13 U.S. soldiers.
Would you have done something differently?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
More than 13,000 illegal immigrants convicted of murder have been caught at the border and then released into the United States.
An Afghan national is in custody today after being accused of plotting an election day terrorist attack. The suspect entered the U.S.
U.S. on a special immigrant visa.
Gut-wrenching new details in the murder of Georgia nursing student Laken Riley. The illegal immigrant suspect, who cops say committed the heinous murder, is a Venezuelan national who crossed the unsecured southern border back in 2022.
2 men investigators say are in the country illegally from Venezuela are charged with capital murder in the death of Jocelyn Nungaray.
A fifth illegal immigrant accused of attacking 2 New York City police officers over the weekend showed no remorse or regret. Would you have done something differently?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Can you believe it? Nothing. You know, a smart person would say, yeah, let's see, I'd strengthen up the border. I'd do something on inflation. I'd do that. You could say 20 different that you couldn't think of anything. This is not what you want for your president. So if you want to end this disaster, you have to go out, get out and vote. And just in conclusion, we want to just introduce a few people that are incredible. They're really incredible. Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, thank you for being here, Burt. Great guy. The great senator from Florida, and he's a tough guy. I had to compete against this guy. This guy was not easy. He's tough. He's tough and he's smart, and he's my friend Marco Rubio. Thank you, Marco. And former senators David Perdue, he's working so hard, and Kelly Loeffler. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, David. Somebody I'm very proud of, Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Representatives, warriors, by the way, Andrew Clyde, Austin Scott, Mike Collins, Marjorie Taylor Greene. And a guy who was great in the Mueller hearings. Remember, he was hitting up Mueller with so many questions. Mueller said, I don't know, I can't. Where the hell am I? Just after 2 years, he had no idea what was happening. And we were totally exonerated, by the way. Totally, 100% exonerated. But this man was great. You got to see his voice chiming through those beautiful, hallowed halls, screaming at Mueller. It was unfair competition. Former Congressman Doug Collins. Thank you, Doug. And candidates for Congress, Brian Jack. So Brian Jack. I hated when they took Brian Jack. They came to me and they said, we'd love to have Brian run his home district where he was born and raised. I said, look, between you and I, just tell him it's not available. I didn't want to lose him, but he figured it out. And I endorsed him so heartily. And he's a great gentleman, right, Chairman? He's a great gentleman. Brian Jack. It's an interesting name because, you know, with people, there aren't too many, but when people have that kind of a name, Brian Jack, and a lot of people call him Jack Bryan. I asked him that question. And I said it doesn't really matter, you know, you get the idea. But Brian Jack is a great guy, and he's going to be a great congressman or whatever he wants to do for a long time to come. Thank you, Brian. And he worked for me, and he was always there. And also Wayne Johnson, going to be great. Wayne Johnson. And he's central. Look at that look he's got. Although looks don't mean anything, please remember that. Looks. You're not allowed to talk about looks anymore in this politically correct. He looks, especially if he were a woman, that would be bad. And you know, nowadays with this administration, you can become a woman if you'd like. I don't think you should. I have a feeling that he's going to take a pass. Do you believe what's happening with that whole situation? But I hear you're doing great, and you're going to be very successful, and you do indeed have the look, whether I'm supposed to say it or not, who cares? Thank you very much. Agriculture Commissioner, and he's a good one, Tyler Harper. Thank you, Tyler. He's a good one. And your incredible GOP chair, Josh McCoon, who is great. I don't want to talk about him too much, though, because, you know, if some crazy thing happens on Tuesday, I can't say. because then I'd say he didn't do a good job. But now he's done a great job, and I hear we're really in great shape, right? We have record-setting early voting, numbers that nobody's ever seen before. Can you believe that? I mean, basically, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Republican Party never wins early. We'll be 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 votes behind, and that they consider that good. But it's just the opposite. We're hundreds of thousands of votes ahead. No, this has never happened before. But it all means nothing if you don't go out on Tuesday and vote. Right, Josh? We have to get them to vote. And, of course, I just introduced him, the legendary Herschel Walker. We love Herschel. Thank you, Herschel. You look good, Herschel. I also want to send our prayers to everyone here in Georgia who's still recovering from Hurricane Helene. And I want to also thank you, Governor. He's been very gracious. He's working very hard on making sure that we win this vote on Tuesday. So I want to thank very much Brian. That's very good. That's really nice. Thank you very much. Everybody's working as a unit because winning this vote, and by the way, winning this state, we win this state and it's over. It's over. So get out there and do it. Kamala's hurricane response was a disgrace and actually a betrayal. It was just reported that almost 50% of phone calls to FEMA for disaster aid went totally unanswered. You know why? Because they spent their money on illegal aliens, people coming into our country illegally, many of them very bad people. So you cannot trust this person. Anybody doing that, you can't trust that person to be president. You had the worst hurricane like maybe ever, and boy, did North Carolina get hit, but you got hit really hard. And you had, and you know, I want to thank Elon Musk, okay? Because Elon, the head of North Carolina Rescue, and your governor, and also some of your people that did a really great job but had very little federal help, they asked, would it be possible for you to call Elon Musk? And he gave me the greatest endorsement ever. I mean, how good is it to get his? Because we like intelligent people. We got to protect our brilliant people. We don't have too many of them. And when I saw that rocket come down, the way it came down was so beautiful. Boom, right on that pad. He was unbelievable. I said, was that yours? Yes. Oh. Can Russia do it? No. Nobody can do it. China? No, nothing. Nobody can do it. And I said, he does something called Starlink. And the man from, a very good official, by the way, state official, he's from North Carolina. He said, sir, could you call up Elon Musk? I know you have a good relationship. We want Starlink. I said, what the hell is Starlink? Tell me about it. It's a communication system. All of the wires in parts of Georgia, too. All of the wires are down, and it's very successful. It's very hard to get. We can't get them, and we need it. I mean, people are dying. They have no communication, and people are dying. And I called Elon. I said, Elon, you got to do me a favor. Do yourself a favor. Do humanity. They got to get this thing you have called Starlink, and you got to get it fast, Elon. And I talked to him for a couple of seconds, literally, and I got a call from the guy from North Carolina thanking me for getting Starlink. I said, how the hell did you do that, Elon? He said, well, I can do two things at one time, can I? And the following day, it got delivered to North Carolina, Georgia, and other places that needed it, and it's very hard to get. And I actually asked him, in all fairness, I got to give Elon a little boost. I actually asked him, well, how does that compare to the wires that have to go all the way down and ground and on poles and everything else? He said, actually, it's much better. So I said, you know, got to rethink that whole situation. But Elon has been great in that way. You know where he is right now? He's campaigning for me in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Can you believe it? That rocket went up, and I mean, the thing was down for probably 30 minutes, and he announced he's going to, because he thinks this election is the most important thing maybe to ever. He doesn't think we're going to have a country left if a guy named Trump doesn't win this election. And he's a very smart guy. But how good is that? Think of it. He is campaigning for all of us. He's not campaigning for me. Thank you very much, sir. That's fine. It's all right. That's very good. I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that. How can I get angry at this guy, right? Normally I'd say, who the hell is in front of me with a sign? But that sign is okay, sir. Because he's up there and he's going to help us out. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's all right. Thank you very much. That's good. That's good. Isn't that nice, actually? See, now a stupid person would say, get the hell out of here. That would be the end of the night. That would be, Josh, that would be the end of the night, right? No, that's very nice, actually. So just in closing it out, here are some of the facts. Kamala is a radical left Marxist rated even worse than crazy Bernie Sanders or Pocahontas herself. She destroyed our economy. She was an original creator of defund the police. Think of that. And anyone who wants to defund our great police for even a day or a week is not worthy of being president of the United States, because that's their thinking, that's their ideology. Kamala vowed to abolish ICE. Can you believe it? Let's go, ICE, get out of here. We'll take care of these tough killers. She wouldn't do it. Tell you who wouldn't have the guts to do it. Liz Cheney wouldn't have the guts to do it. Liz Cheney, oh. She's a big talker. We're going to put thousands of soldiers and they'll die. They'll all die. And I'll be sitting home with my dad who ruined, think of all the people that are dead right now. And then they wonder why Kamala's doing so badly with the Arab Muslim population in Michigan. You see that? They're doing bad. Who the hell, if you're a Muslim Arab, you're from that part of the world, who the hell's going to vote for her? Her father unleashed a spree of death on all of their countries, and then she doesn't understand. See, I would say that Kamala's pick of Liz Cheney, Marjorie, is not the best. And they're wondering why they have virtually no votes from that particular community. I thought about it. It took me about a second. I said, wow, that's not a very good person to be campaigning with, I don't think. They went from 100% approval to about 4% now. And you know who's got the approval? Me, because I want to see peace all over the place. We had no wars. She pledged to confiscate your guns and endorse a total ban on handgun ownership. She ruined San Francisco, probably the greatest city in our country 20 years ago. She destroyed it. And she's not going to be allowed to destroy our country. She even called for free sex changes for illegal aliens in detention at taxpayers' expense. And perhaps, worst of all, she never worked at McDonald's. She never did. She lied about that. So with your vote on Tuesday, we're going to fire Kamala and we are going to save America. We will cut your taxes, end inflation, slash your prices, raise your wages, and bring thousands of factories back to America and back to the good old state of Georgia. We will build American, we will buy American, and we will hire American, and the jobs are going to be pouring in. And I will end the war in Ukraine, which would have never happened if I were president. And I will stop the chaos in the Middle East. October 7th would have never happened if I were president. And I will prevent World War III from happening. Because this would be a war like no other. This would be a war, the level of destructive power. This would be a war like no other, but it'll never happen. But it could happen with them. It will happen. I'm most worried about the next 3 months. That's what I'm worried. I'm actually worried about the next 3 months. We will crush violent crime and give our police the support, protection, resources, and respect that they so dearly deserve. We will strengthen and modernize our military. I rebuilt our entire military, but they gave a lot of it away to Afghanistan. Can you imagine that? They gave billions and billions of dollars away, but it's still only a fraction of what we have. We rebuilt the military. We've got to touch it up anyway. We're going to touch it up. And I rebuilt the nuclear arsenal. And I hated doing it because it's obliteration. We don't want that to happen. And, you know, Russia and myself and China were talking about de-escalation, actually, of nuclear. We had that going. And then this stupid thing happened with the election. And you think Biden thought about that? He can't figure out how the hell he goes up to bed. And besides that, I was just thinking the other day, you know, you have countries, and when somebody calls, like Putin calls, or President Xi, who's a fierce individual, somebody said, what's he like? He's a very smart guy, but what's he like? Well, he's a fierce individual. He really is. He's fierce. When you get into an argument with him, you know you've got an argument going, right? He's a fierce, and he loves China, and we love the USA, right? So, but I was thinking today, let's say you're China, and you want to call the United States because there's a conflict or there's a problem. Who the hell do you call? There's nobody. Do you call her? Do you call... He's not going to be answering your phone. He only works about 2 hours a day. And I understand. I mean, it's okay. But she can't really do it. She hasn't got the aptitude or the IQ or anything else. She can't do it. So who the hell do you call? Oh. Well, I don't know if they have a choice. There's nobody you can call. You ever have that? You're calling a company, like a nice company, and there's all flux and trouble. You don't know who to talk to. Here's on a much larger scale, to put it mildly, the largest scale in the world. You call the United States because we have a problem with something. You have no idea who the hell you're talking to. We will build a missile defense shield, all made in the USA, wrapped around our country to defend ourselves and our country. It's all going to be made in the United States, and a lot of it in your great state. We'll put Herschel Walker in charge of that little sucker, okay? And we're going to do that. It's so important. You know, it's our technology. I know a lot of people say it's our technology, and we're going to use that technology at an even higher level. You know, when you see Israel with 187 rockets blasted, and almost all of them are knocked down, well, we got to have that kind of capability too. And we're the one can do it better than anybody. You know, Ronald Reagan wanted to do it, but we really didn't have the technology. He was great, but we didn't have the technology then. It would have been a terrible thing, because we would have had it, it would have never worked. But now we have technology where it can knock a pin out of the sky. It can knock a little pin this big out of the sky. It's incredible. We will rebuild our cities, including our capital in Washington, D.C., which is a mess, with graffiti on our marble, beautiful Carrera marble columns all over the city, graffiti and filth and crime. We're going to make it beautiful again, and we're going to rebuild our cities. We're going to work with Democrat mayors and governors. We'll probably have to, and we're going to make our cities beautiful and safe again. We'll work with them if we have to. And we will teach our children to love our country, to honor our history, and to always respect our great American flag. And we will get critical race theory and transgender insanity the hell out of our schools. And we will keep men out of women's sports. That's like a no-brainer. Brett Favre endorsed me yesterday. That was beautiful. While we were in Wisconsin, Green Bay, Wisconsin, he said, I've never endorsed anybody in my life. It was never appropriate for me to do so. You're the one person I'm going to endorse. And I said, that's an honor. And he shook my hand. It's the largest hand I have ever seen. This hand is the biggest thing I've ever seen. Then you wonder why he threw the ball so hard and so long. He was a great player, but he endorsed me, and that was a great honor. I will defend religious liberty. I will restore free speech, and I will defend the right to keep and bear arms, our Second Amendment. After years of building up foreign nations, defending foreign borders, and protecting foreign lands, we are going to just do this. We're going to do this so at a level that we have never done it before. because we're putting America first, and we're going to help others. We're not going to be, gee, we're never leaving our shores. We'll help others, but first we have to build our country back up. We have a sick, sick country. I say, we're a nation in decline. We're not going to be a nation in decline for very long, I can tell you that. But we're going to defend our borders and protect our citizens. We're going to do that. And we will stop illegal immigration once and for all. We're going to stop those criminals from coming in. We're being invaded, and we're going to stop it. And we will not be invaded, and we will not be occupied. We will not be overrun. We will not be conquered. They are conquered. Can you imagine 5 years ago, me, standing up and saying, we will not be invaded, we will not be conquered, because we are being invaded. And can you imagine that we even think of that? To be using those expressions? Can you imagine that I'd be up here saying, and I will stop men from playing in women's sports? What the hell? It's interesting. I read so much, and it's such a big deal. So, as I said, I've been doing this for 9 years. I've never had one person, they come up, sir, I think you should cut taxes. I think you should do this. I think you should have Elon build a rocket to Mars. Everything. They never said to me, sir, it's very important that men be able to play in women's sports. I've never had anybody come up and yet it's like a big deal. That's all they talk about. I never had anybody come up and say, sir, it's so important, let men play in women's sports. I don't get it. Same with transgender. They want to do things that they shouldn't be doing. It's terrible. And oftentimes when it's done, that person that it was done to, 10 years later said, who did this to me? Who did this to me? How sad is that? Little children, they take them without parental consent. Can you believe it? It's not even possible to believe. And we're going to change it all around, and the people because you know what? We're the party of common sense. We're the party of common sense. We will be a free and proud nation once again. Everyone will prosper, every family will thrive, and every day will be filled with opportunity and hope, and always filled with that beautiful American dream. Your children, you want your children, yourself, but you want your children to have the American dream, and they're going to have it. They're going to have it. They're going to have it very, very soon. But for that to happen, we must defeat Kamala Harris and stop her radical left agenda with a landslide that is too big to rig. So on Tuesday, it's very simple. For 2 weeks, I've been saying, call this number, that number, early voting, late voting. We should have one-day voting with paper ballots, voter ID, and proof of citizenship. Yes, I'm a United States citizen. And you know what? The voting would be concluded at 9 o'clock. The winner would be announced, and the loser would be announced at 9:30. You would save hundreds of millions of dollars. Do you know that paper ballots, actually the paper is highly sophisticated. It's called watermark. It's like got fingerprints on it. Very sophisticated. But you know that it costs 8% of the machines. And I'm upset because the machines, they say, when are we going to have they don't know. They don't know. Is it going to be Tuesday? It should be Tuesday night. We should demand it has to be accurate. Number one, has to be Tuesday night. But eventually, and we're going to work on that. That's a part of our platform. We're going to go to France. Did it? They had 39 million people vote. They voted. They had a winner. They had a loser. They went to mail-in ballots, and it didn't work. It was tremendous, rampant cheating. As you know, there would be. Jimmy Carter said there would be when he was asked to chair a commission. But we're going to bring so many things back to our country, and they're common sense things like that. You need to get out and vote. We're going to do things that are going to make you so proud. And we just don't want to take a chance. We're leading by a lot. We're leading by numbers that nobody's ever seen before. Some people said, I really don't believe these polls. This is going to be a landslide because, we did a great job for 4 years. Right to try, another thing we did. Right to try. If somebody's terminally ill, they get a chance to try instead of going to Europe or Asia. They're terminally ill and they have to leave our country. We have the greatest doctors in the world, greatest scientists, greatest labs. And I got it done. It was 42 years in the making. They couldn't get it done. I said to the person wanting it, you have to sign a no liability. You're not going to sue the country. They're not going to sue the doctor, the lab. You're not going to sue anybody. And we've saved thousands and thousands of lives with Right to Try. It's been amazing. And the people that fought it hardest, which were the doctors and the various insurance companies, they love it, because when you save people that are terminally ill, that have no chance of living, and now they're saved, and not only are they saved, they're disease-free. I mean, what a great thing that is. And thousands of people have been saved. For the past 9 years, we have been fighting against the most sinister, corrupt forces on earth. With your vote in this election, you can show them once and for all that this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you. Belongs to you. It was hardworking patriots like you who built this country. And 2 days from now, it is hardworking patriots like you who are going to save our country. 2 days, 2 days. What a beautiful sound. What a beautiful sound, 2 days. Oh, please, please, please help this country, please. After all we have been through together, we stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in American history. You watch. It's going to be so good. It's going to be so much fun. It'll be nasty a little bit at times, and maybe at the beginning in particular, but it's going to be something that we're going to go to heights that this country never has reached, and nobody ever even thought it could. You're going to see things that you're not going to believe. With your help, from now until Election Day, we will restore America's promise, and we will take back the nation that we love. We love this nation. That's why I'm doing this. I didn't have to be here tonight. I could have been on a beautiful beach somewhere. The sun pouring down on me, the waves, saltwater waves hitting me in the face. I love those properties, but you know what? I love this much more. It's not even a contest. Many people have said, have you had it? Because they've treated me terribly, you know. Look, they treated Andrew Jackson, President Andrew, a great general and a good president. They treated him the worst up until me. They treated Abraham Lincoln, is considered the second worst. They treated him but he was in a civil war, in all fairness. I guess that makes sense, right? He had a civil war. But now I think there's no question about the fact that I got treated the worst. Think of it. And it did. I mentioned before, I got treated worse than Alphonse Capone, one of the greatest killers in the world. Scarface, and my father's looking down. Probably he's looking down, but my mother is definitely looking down. My father, you know, a little questionable, but no, he was a tough guy, but he was a great guy and a good guy. But we're one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God, under God. We will never give in, we will never give up. We will never back down, and we will never, ever surrender. We're not surrendering. We're there. We're there. You got to get out and vote. We're there. We're actually on the 1 yard line. Let's go get out and vote. Everybody vote, 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 vote. Together we will fight, 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 and we will win, win, win. We're going to win. November 5th will be the most important day in the history of our country. And together we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, Georgia. Thank you very much. God bless you all. God bless you all. Thank you.
yourself off the ground. I said, young man, cause you're in a new town. There's no need to be unhappy, young man. There's a place you can go. I said, young man, when you're short on your dough, you can stay there, and I'm sure you will